Hey everyone, welcome to our second Eternal Brews. I've decided not to number these ones, and I'm going to rename the series to Eternal Brews, so that's what it's going to be called. Today we're going to be looking at Carpet Shuffle, and this is a deck that I designed very early in the beta. It's probably the deck that I am personally most well known for. We're going to look at two different versions of it. The basic cheap popper version, which we're only going to show briefly because we're covering this in Eternal Basics number 8. And then we're also going to go into a 3-color version reminiscent of the Stronghold control decks that are fairly popular on the ladder and talk about how this one works and how that archetype works. So first things first, let's talk about Carpet Shuffle in brief. So the Carpet Shuffle list is defined by 4 key cards. Excavate, the Static Bolt, Elysian Trailblazer, and Channel the Tempest. And it's these 4 cards that make up the bulk of the deck. And the basic idea behind these cards is that they all have certain interactions with each other that are extremely beneficial. But the most common one is that if you are able to get a Static Bolt with an Excavate, you can put it on top of your deck. Elysian Trailblazer can give it Echo, and then an Echoed Static Bolt will trigger its fate effect twice every time that it's drawn. So your first Static Bolt that you draw using this effect, both Static Bolts will deal 4 damage. You can very quickly get these up to around 7, 8, or 9, and at that point you've built up enough static by shuffling around on the carpet to kill your opponent by simply bolting him 3 times, and that is your victory condition. You can also do this kind of thing with Channel the Tempest to stabilize and allow you an alternate way of winning. And finally, Elysian Trailblazer just excavating an Excavate and giving it Echo is a fairly common way to make a control deck just get infinite amounts of card advantage and stall out the game. So this is a basic list. We have Levitates and Permafrosts. This list is entirely commons and uncommons. There is one rare that has been added to the deck that you won't have, but the Channel the Tempest, the first Channel the Tempest, is free. You can all say hello to that cat Marlowe. That is my roommate's cat. He's very loud. Anyways, well, we won't let him disrupt the video too much. Okay, so yes, yeah, the Channel the Tempest is the only rare that you have to buy for this list. Very simple, very easy deck to run. This is really fun. It's not an easy deck to run at all. Most control decks are really complicated, and that's actually why I adore this archetype. It tends to involve a lot of interesting choices at every turn, and I think that that's really exciting. Okay, so we're not going to go too deep into this list, but if you want to try it out, this is a simple, basic version that you can run. And we're going to look at a slightly more expensive and complicated list. This is the current version of Carpet Shuffle that I'm running on the ladder. It features 4 Excavates, 4 Static Bolts, of course. You run Second Sight as well. And Channel the Tempests are there, and the Elysian Trailblazers are there as a 2-of. We usually like them around 2 or 3 here. If you have 4 Elysian Trailblazers, you can get that working, but it's usually a little bit slow. Elysian Trailblazer is not a card that you want to have a lot of in your deck, and it can be pretty tough if you run too many of them. So we generally go for around 2 or 3, and 4 is usually not so great. Channel the Tempest we don't need too many of, but this deck also runs into green for Sword of the Sky King. And Sword of the Sky King is an alternate win condition for when you're not getting across with spells. This card is very good at pushing through removal. It works well with a card called Stronghold Visage to basically just get an infinite source of damage across, but Sword of the Sky King is also just a really strong finisher in any control archetype where you are keeping the board clear with Static Bolts and Lightning Storms. And the main reason, of course, that we splash into green for this deck is Harsh Rule, which kills all units on the board and is a really wonderful control card for pretty much everyone involved. We run 4 of these, of course, and if we can keep these, then this is a really good way to net a lot of card advantage while playing a slow deck. In the meantime, we hold the board down with Static Bolts and Lightning Storms. We sometimes run Lightning Strikes in the deck, but we switched them out today for Desert Marshals because the current meta involves a lot of units that you really need to silence. It also involves a lot of relic weapons that sometimes you can't really Lightning Strike. Auric Runehammer is pretty common. There are a lot of options where Desert Marshal will do about the same deal and also get you that silence effect that is very beneficial to you. So we run Desert Marshals instead of Lightning Strikes, but that's one possible swap. Of course, there's a lot of different parts of removal, a lot of different pieces of the removal suite that you can be running. Lightning Strike is good, Permafrost is lovely. We're currently running 2 Levitates to pop Aegises, and that's pretty common in Carpet Shuffle lists, but there's other options such as Jotun Hurler as well, which works very well with Second Sight and Excavate for getting you extra snowballs to pop Aegises with. I personally like the Levitate for just the deck thinning capacity and that kind of thing going on, but yeah, that's the sort of overall like removal suite. We also run a Decay and a Passage of Ages. The Decay is our quick enemy attachment removal. The Passage of Ages is our slow enemy attachment removal. We're focused on dealing with some of the later game control decks that run lots of Stronghold Visages and Eyes of Winter and other like ridiculous control elements. If you have enough Passage of Ages, then you can, or a Passage of Ages is a really interesting slow control option to deal with that particular situation. And now that it only kills enemy attachments, it no longer destroys our own Stronghold Visage. This deck is very commonly runs Eye of Winter as well. It's not included in our particular list. We didn't really have room for it, but it's a possibility. We keep a decent amount of card draw available, Wisdom of the Elders and 2 Ancient Lores, as well as a push onwards or 2 to get to some of our more important pieces, but we're primarily relying on Second Sight, Wisdom of the Elders, and Channel the Tempest to get us through. We're basically trying to hold down the board a lot more here, and this version of the deck is a lot more focused on having answers to problems as opposed to having card draw to get to answers to problems, because we want to have a decent amount of tempo or counter tempo to our opponent's tempo. Let's see here. What else is going on? We've got Secret Pages, of course, and Seek Power. The deck runs 2 Eilyn's Favor. This is pretty beneficial because it protects you from cards like Rain of Frogs, which can really mess up a deck like Carpet Shuffle by destroying one of the crucial combo pieces that you really, really need. It's also good against Sabotage. It's good against fast burn spells such as what's it called? Flame Blast, which is not a fast burn spell at all, but a very, very slow one. So any large finishers, Eilyn's Favor helps to protect against, and it's also just a functional way to draw additional power. We're very, very concerned with drawing a lot of power for this deck, since we have 3 8-drops that we really, really want to get to on time, and we want to consistently hit Harsh Rule at 5, we want to hit Stronghold Visage at 4. We basically want to always have a power drop available for this deck. This deck doesn't hit a power drop every turn. It tends to run into trouble pretty fast. We're trying to keep up with that tempo and actually win the game relatively fast for a control deck. We're not trying to play the game very slowly. And that's one of the reasons why Carpet Shuffle is a little different from most control archetypes. It's because this Static Bolt here allows us to finish our enemies a little bit faster than a straight-up Channel the Tempest strategy would. And so that's the reason why we run with the Static Bolts in the first place. Okay, so that's the basic explanation of the deck. We'll hop into a game pretty quick here, and we'll talk about it there. Alright, versus Rewind. Starting off hand, we have the ability to get 3 different colors. We can't get double green and we can't get double yellow, so that's a little bit weird. I like the Elysian Trailblazer early in the deck. I don't like that there's no control in the deck at all. Or no control in the hand, sorry. I think we'll redraw here. I'm more interested in trying to get like a little bit more power, and yeah, a little bit more fixers. Now I've got some pretty cool stuff here. We've got the Elysian Trailblazer is in the hand already. We have Static Bolt, we have Harsh Rule, we have 3 different ways to seek power, so we're going to hit power every turn, even though it's going to kind of delay us while doing so. Rewind is playing Feln. Feln is usually pretty good against control archetypes. Carpet Shuffle's fast. Faster than a lot of Feln decks can be, so that's nice. For a control deck, we're actually pretty zippy, and we tend to get to, if we get our Static Bolt combo off fast, then we'll be okay. You can Static Bolt on turn 5 if your opponent's just not playing anything, and then just get going. Our turn here, Seed of Wisdom's great. I've got all the power I need and all the colors I need, except for 4 blue for Channel the Tempest, so happy to go ahead and play that. Let's turn this over here so it's a little bit closer. Anyways, yeah, 4 blue. And we'll keep thinning the deck out here, just make sure that everything's all set up. Looks like this Feln deck has red in it. That's good, because it slows the deck down more. can be bad because it gives it a lot more flexibility, and since it's obviously already hit its power requirements, it's not going to be suffering for it. What do you play in red, purple, blue? Probably some burn. We're pretty glad we have... Okay. I see what's going on here. Sure. The harsh rule. Alright, so I now have Static Bolt. I can Static Bolt and Excavate and all of that nonsense. So if he Yetis again, then we'll Static Bolt Harsh Rule. Not sure what this deck's overall strategy is, but it's probably Yeti, Spies, and Champion with some extra burn, like Obliterates or something like that. It's hard to say for sure. Alright, start turn. Pretty happy just throwing this Static Bolt in this guy's face. We need to get rid of it so that we can put it on top with Excavate and get the Elysian Trailblazer combo working. There's no units played yet. I'm expecting to see a champion at some point. Okay, Grenade in here. So this is like a party hour deck. He's setting up Witching Party with all of this nonsense. Oh! Or he's setting up Bloodright Callous. Alright. Ah, yes. I'd forgotten this deck exists, but it's a fun one. Alright, anyways. Our goal is still the same. We Excavate Static Bolt, we put down Elysian Trailblazer, and now we have enough damage to get through the Bloodright Callous at least. I will Levitate here. Counteract some of that nonsense. Be really nice to draw a power here. I think if I get torched, this is going to start hurting pretty bad. Like, if anything actually kills Elysian Trailblazer. Is it going to be 3 Vara's Favors? Vara's Favor into Lightning Storm. Okay. So this is going to get disastrous. We've only got 1 Decay in the deck. And obviously, like Smuggler's Stash, there's a lot of bad things that could happen here. I think Wisdom looks good. Oh. It's still not quite there, but it's so close. Okay. Oh, thank goodness, that did it. So that's 5 damage each, which means that I can actually destroy that weapon. And maybe save my life. Although, if he's got a Smuggler Stash, it's just Smuggler Stash into Callous, and he's got 10. Okay. Yetis I don't care about too much. This is a really interesting deck. This is a fun one to be playing against. Alright, we've got 14 here. We're just going to keep saying no to this token generation. That should keep the combos out of our hair. I think we'll Harsh Rule here, honestly. Callous is such a big danger. That may have been a little early to burn the Harsh Rule, but with Callous going on, like, I'm okay with it. We're basically out of gas, but we win if we get a way to recur Static Bolt. And we've got so much available damage, like drawing a Channel the Tempest, drawing anything would be really good. Sword of the Sky King here looks lovely. That's 8, and these are 14, so if we can hit him one more time, we should be able to win. Okay, cool. Man, that is a tense match. Oh, load of fun. Alright, so this time around we've got Desert Marshal, 2 Static Bolts, and a Channel the Tempest. Static Bolts are always fun as removal early on, so this looks like a pretty good hand overall. It's got all 3 colors. It has colors in most of the combinations I need. I don't have Double Time or Double Justice, but I do have Double Blue. I think this is okay. It's a little awkward because it doesn't have secret pages or any sort of seek power, so we could get into some situations where we don't hit our power drops, but drawing a Wisdom is really the key to fixing that problem. And you can usually count on drawing either a Wisdom or a Secret Pages. Alright, Time Sigil looks lovely. We'll make double time happen. And of course, you sit still this turn, we draw at the end of turn. We have nothing to play for 0 cost, so no point in letting our opponent know we have that. Alright, 2 Desert Marshals, a Harsh Rule. We are now getting close to getting power stuck. My opponent's playing white, green, blue control. Carpet Shuffle control usually does okay against this deck. It can be tricky, but because both of us are basically like disabling our own removal stuff. Oh, okay. So it's not the control element version, it's the one that uses oh, what is this? Just a lot of units, basically. Double Static Bolt doesn't actually seem too bad here. It's the kind of decision we want to make quickly. I want Harsh Rule available for other situations. Sandstorm Titan just puts me on too big of a clock, so we have to get rid of it. And yeah, something like Calm Regular we can ignore safely for quite some time. Well, Wisdom of the Elder's on curve here because, or well, Wisdom of the Elder's on our turn here because we want to draw that power. Hitting power drops is super important, and we haven't hit all the ones that we need. Now we've got Decay though, so that means that we should be able to deal with any Stronghold Visage, any Eye of Winter, basically just get a bunch of extra health out of whatever he decides to play as far as attachments and relics go. Although this might not even have that. This might be just like a really slow control list with just a couple of simple combo cards. Desert Marshals are good to have in reserve here, and since we're up against another control list, this is really easy to just sit back, take some damage, don't feel too worried about it. I could Excavate here, but usually you don't want to Excavate unless you're really in trouble. And that's a common mistake that a lot of control players make, I think, is they Excavate too early, and they deny themselves like possible draws that might actually be really helpful to them. Because like once you're in Excavate, like once you use Excavate, you are essentially in a death spiral until such time as you've actually drawn like all of the cards off the top of your deck. You're never going to get anything new that will change the pattern that you're currently in. So you have to be really careful about when you Excavate. Anyways, with Secret Pages here, we get the power that we need, and of course if we'd Excavated then we'd never actually get any more power. We'd be stuck at 5 or 6 until the Excavate stopped. Harsh Rule's fine here, but I don't really see a need for it. My opponent running his own control list. In this situation, we're kind of sad about the Desert Marshals over some other options, but it works pretty well against the Seraphs that are typically in the deck and come down around turn 7. Does he have a power to play? Okay, Martial Ironthorn merits a Harsh Rule, so good on us. This is actually really scary, because he might have Stand Together? He might have specifically set it up for Stand Together. Yeah, okay. Didn't have Stand Together. Could have been a really bad turn if he had. Other than that, I think we're just good here. We have the combo, Elysian Trailblazer into Static Bolt. We want to try and get one more power so that we can channel the Tempest after that, but... Okay, nothing I really want to do here. If he gets my Excavates, that sucks. If he gets Channel, I don't care so much. And if he gets Trailblazer, that's annoying. What are we hitting? And this is one of the nice things about Carpet Shuffle. Carpet Shuffle has more than one way to kill my opponent. So whatever victory condition he disables, I still have at least one more available. We hold on to frogs, by the way. This is something that we're going to be covering later in like a top 5 tech videos, I think. If you have Second Sight, you can hold on to frogs because frogs will allow you to Second Sight them put them on the bottom, or put them on top of your deck, and then Destiny them, and you just get a free card out of that. And that's way more useful than just playing down a 1/1 frog. So we keep our frogs for as long as possible. Now I have a tough choice to make. If I use my static bolts now, I'll deal 10 damage to his face, which isn't super great. But I'll dodge a second Rain of Frogs, which I don't know if my opponent's going to be running more than one Rain of Frogs. It's always a possibility. I think I'll Ancient Lore here. Okay, and we got a Justice Sigil. So now I can throw away my static bolts, but that might be throwing away the keys to victory. I think I'd rather risk the Rain of Frogs and hold on to my cards. Okay, Sandstorm Titan here. I'm going to go ahead and throw down a Desert Marshal and silence that, just because I want to Levitate to draw a card next turn. Maybe I Levitate to draw a card this turn. But no, we should press for a little bit of damage. So, Secret Pages here, just to get a little bit of power out of here. Levitate. Alright, still got power. What a pity. We gotta do a little bit of damage. I could Static Bolt here, but I don't really see the point. Maybe I'll play the Frog, or maybe I'll just take 5. I think I'm willing to just take 5 here. Could also hit Desert Marshal again, but that seems like a waste. Alright, so I've got 10 damage in hand. I'm pretty happy about that. Second Sight makes it a lot more than 10, to be sure. And I guess I actually shouldn't be holding on to the frogs, since I'm always going to be second sighting the Static Bolt. Should have thought of that. That's okay. We'll attack for 2 here. Static Bolts now deal 7 damage apiece when I draw the next one. That's 1421. So I need to get a little bit more damage across here. We'll play down the frog, and we're good to go. Okay, so 21, I'm real close. I might actually Desert Marshal again here, just so that I can hit for 4. That's still not lethal, though. I think it's worth it. Alright, so now, barring like an actual hit from something serious, we should be able to push through to win. My opponent should be blocking with his Sandstorm Titan at this point. He should be actually like trying to reduce the amount of damage, but he's not mathing out how many points of damage in terms of Static Bolts I have in my deck. Okay. You've got your own silence, and you're just pushing for damage on your own. I'm not mathing out Channel the Tempest, of course, so if I get channeled here, I die. Wisdom, he's got 8. But he doesn't have Channel, so I think he loses? Looks like. Static Bolt for 7, Static Bolt for 7, Static Bolt for 7. And coming across with that surprising amount of damage. I think my opponent could have played that a little better, and maybe even beat me there. But yeah, Static Bolt can just they can really blow your opponent away. So good old 21 damage combo. I think I'm pretty happy with that result. So yes, that's it for today. As before, we have one last list, a fun little Carpet Shuffle variant that uses Curioxes and basically just draws a bunch of cards with it. We have Unexpected Arrivals for a little bit of added fun. It's a fun card to hit with Elysian Trailblazer for the Echo. This is a more dedicated Carpet Shuffle list in the blue-yellow, and it's basically just fun to play. So we thought we'd feature that one last. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll be back again with another Eternal Brews soon. Feel free to like or subscribe, and let me know how I did in the comments. Thanks again. Have a good one.